What is up, YouTube? It is me, it is Double D, and I have a project here I am going to do. I don't know if you recognize this table that I have here in front of me. I did pull that out of Burlington dumpster on one of my episodes, and I did leave a comment that I was going to make a video about this. So we can repair this for sure. I'm taking it. Man, that was heavy. Oh, what's this? Oh, there's the other leg. We got all four legs. Awesome. This is what this is here. So, also, I don't know if you recognize this table right here. I pulled that one out of a dumpster at Bed Bath & Beyond, and that is also on one of my videos. You can see me do that. So, you know, we have to do a little bit of a repair on this. On this side over here, we have a broken mirror. I am going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to fix that. And then I'm going to show you some of the designs that I have come up with on what I'm going to do when I paint this and redo this thing. And I'm going to show you those ideas here in a little bit. But hey, with that being said, let's get this project on. Yeah. Okay, now these are the two designs that I was actually looking at doing for this table. What I wanted to do is I wanted to actually do it a darker color, this color right here, but I wanted to put a darker thing on top to make like a distressed kind of look to it. But what I did was I went ahead and I started off with this color right here. Now this color is called Indian Fig. It's a real deep maroon, but I went with an eggshell type paint. So I sanded this down, and then I went ahead and I painted it with a couple coats of this. And then after it dried, I went ahead and I put a dark stain on top. Now I went with black onyx, so it's like a really black stain. I went ahead, put it all over the board there, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I came back with a rag and wiped the excess off. And it kind of really didn't absorb very well when I tried it with the eggshell. So the actual video that I was watching, they actually went with a semi-gloss, but I wasn't sure if I really wanted it like super shiny. So I went ahead and tried it with the eggshell. Didn't really do what I wanted, so I went ahead and got another can of paint, and this time I did go with the semi-gloss enamel. So I went ahead and repainted it, put the stain back on, wiped it off, and this is kind of what it gave me. It may be kind of hard to see here, but it still really didn't do what I really wanted it to. So when I actually searched out how to do this stuff, the person actually used a white semi-gloss paint and then put a dark stain on top. So I didn't really want a bright white, so I went ahead and got another color, and this is called Navajo white. So it's like an off-white, kind of toward a cream color. So I went ahead and I did get that in a semi-gloss. So I went ahead and took this board here and I painted it, let it dry, put the stain on there, wiped it off, and it kind of gave me what I wanted. Now the only difference is the table is not made out of plywood, but it's made out of another type of material, so I'm not sure how it's really going to look, but I think I'm going to go with this right here. And hey, if it doesn't turn out, then I'm just going to redo it. So but that's my idea of what I want to do with this table. So with that being said, let's get it started. All right, now the first thing we want to do is we want to get this broken mirror off. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and take some duct tape, and we are going to put it all over this mirror here. And that's so if it breaks or whatever, we don't have a bunch of shards going everywhere when we try to pry this off. So all right, so there we are. So now what we're going to do is I have a couple different tools here, and I'm going to go ahead and get on the edge here and try to pry this off of the wood here. And there we go. It's all in a nice little piece here. And now we can just go ahead and throw it out. And I'm going to go ahead and clean up this little mess here. And then we're going to get that glue off. All right, now I got a little razor knife here. And we should be able to just go right ahead along here and scrape this right off. No problem. Yep, and there we go. Came off nice and easy. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then the next step is we're going to actually measure this, and I'm actually going to take the measurements off of the other side, and then we're going to go ahead and cut a new piece of mirror for this. Okay, so I got my mirror right here that I'm going to use, and I went over here and I got my measurements. The measurements is 7 3/4 by 9 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and cut this mirror. Now this mirror I got out of the dumpster. This is why I grabbed this stuff, because I can take this and now I'm going to use it for a project. So I'm going to go ahead, tear this down, clean this up. You could tell I got it out of Bed Bath & Beyond because of the red spray paint in my area. That's what color they use. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, get this ready, get it all cleaned up, and get a piece out of there. And I'm going to show you how I go ahead and cut this mirror. So, all right, now we got the mirror part. We got a section of that mirror. Now, the mirror that was on that table over there, it was kind of like beveled right here along the edges and stuff like that. But it really doesn't matter, because this piece of mirror is actually going to be sitting between two of the legs. So, you know, are people really going to care? I don't know. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. You know, it's a mirror, and, you know, it's in a place where it doesn't really matter if it's beveled or not. Now, what's cool about mirror is, you know, I've done a video on how to cut glass and everything, and they're like, oh, well, what about mirror? Mirror is a piece of glass with a reflective coating on the back of it. Now, if you ever get a chance, and I have done this, is just go on YouTube and search out how mirrors are made, and it is amazing how they make them. And, you know, it only takes 5 minutes to watch this video, and it's amazing what they actually do put in a mirror. And, you know, I didn't know it's actually a precious metal. You know, it's silver. It's liquid silver that they put on the back of these things, and then they coat them with another coating. Now, I don't think all mirrors are like that, but I think the high quality mirrors are definitely made that way. There are cheaper ways to make a mirror, and I'm thinking, you know, some of these mirrors, you know, that you get out of Bed Bath and Beyond and those other stores like that are not the high quality mirrors, and that's why they can sell them at the price they do. And I still agree. I think they're more than what they should be because they're not really high quality stuff. So, but with that being said, it doesn't matter. Hey, we got a piece of mirror here. We got to cut it to fit there. Now I did take my measurement. It is 7 3/4 by 9 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I cut glass. So and I have another video on how I do this. So there's two different types of cutters that I use. I don't ever really use this one anymore, the red one. I use this one. Now this one, this one right here is, it's a better quality one. You could put cutting oil in it. It's a lot smoother cut. It's a little easier to hold. It's a heavier duty one. It's a little more expensive than this red one here. But when I first started cutting glass, that's what I used. And I had success, but not a lot. But with this one, I have a lot more success when I cut my glass. So, but you know, here's the cutting oil right here. You know, I got it at Hobby Lobby for a little thing. It's $8. You know, this will go a long, long, long way, trust me. So that's the kind of oil that I use. It just goes here. This unscrews, you pour it in here, you know, and it comes out as you depress this thing. So, but it's good to have. I like this one better than this one for sure. So I'm sure there's other ways that you can cut glass, but this is just how I do it. So we need 7 3/4. So I got my tape measure here. We are going to go ahead and put our first measurement on here. So what we got is 7 3/4. Now when I measured it, it was just a hair under 7 3/4. So that's what I'm going to do here. Being that it's going to fit in between two pieces of wood, you know, I want to try to get it exact as I possibly can. So we'll go ahead and measure this like so. And then what I do is I have a metal yardstick here that I use. And I place it down on here. Now I usually always clean my glass, mirror, or whatever I'm cutting. So we're gonna lay it on there. Now I'll show you why I use duct tape there. I put it on there because if you ever try to do it without doing that, your thing's going to go like this as you're cutting, because you're putting a little bit of pressure and you're pushing against the ruler and everything, and no matter how hard or how you hold that thing, it wants to slide on you, and then you got a crooked piece of glass. So what I do is I put a little piece of duct tape in two different places. Now we're going to put we have a blade right here. I usually put that just kind of in the middle, or maybe just to the one side of it, but I do both of them the same way. So let me get here at a better angle so I can see my mark. It's a little harder with a mirror because of the reflection. So we'll get that right there. That looks good. And then we'll come down here to my other mark. Now I do this a few times just to make sure nothing moved on me. And there we go. Once you get it set, just take and run your finger right along that duct tape and stick it to the mirror or the glass, whatever you're cutting. So there's really no difference between cutting mirror and glass. It is actually a piece of glass. So, so what I do is I usually push against there, and you'll hear it. They say it kind of sounds like bacon sizzling, but that way you know you're getting a good score. Now you don't want to put a whole bunch of pressure, but you want to put a firm pressure so it gets a good score on there. Now that you got it scored, take this off. Now there's a couple ways I showed you in my other video. And one way is to take a dowel rod, and stick it up underneath here. Now this isn't too big of a piece of glass. And then you just put it directly like in the middle here. And then you could take it and just hold one and push it. This is a little too long for me to do that. And what happens is sometimes it will just, you know, do an angle at the very end. It's kind of weird. So the method I prefer to use is a tap method. So we'll get rid of this. But that is one way you can do it. And it does work. And it usually works with the smaller pieces of mirror glass. Now on the other end of this tool here, there's a little ball right here. Now I use the tap method, and the little red one has it too, but this has a little more weight to it. It's a little easier to tap. So I usually just pull it right out here, like so, off to the edge and hold my glass. And then I just lightly tap along the score there, the whole way down through. Now this one's a little harder to see where you scored because of the mirror, but you just tap it a little bit along there, and what that's doing is it's taking that score and cracking it some more. And as you keep doing that, now the thinner the glass, the easier it is to shatter it. So just be careful. You don't want to like be hammering on it, you know what I mean? Now I'm being a little gentle on this because I don't want to break it because I only have so much mirror, but I got plenty, but I don't want to keep doing this over and over, so. Now I can see it cracking, so this should be popping off here real soon, like that. And it just pops right off. And there you go. You have a nice piece of mirror. Now we have our 7 3/4. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cut it the other way. And being that this is so short like this, I do believe I could probably use the dowel method, and we'll go ahead and try it anyway. So if I mess up, I have another piece right here that I could try to do it again. So we're gonna go ahead and get set up to do that. All right, we got our pre-cut piece here. We have one more measurement to cut off of there. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna go ahead and measure it. It's 9 3/4. And again, this one was like dead on 9 3/4. If it's just a hair over, you're not really gonna notice it down there, but you know, we're gonna go ahead and try to cut it as close as possible to 9 3/4. So we'll grab our Sharpie here and our tape measure. And we're going to measure over 9 3/4, and we're going to make our little mark. And we're going to go ahead and make our little mark here. Now I always put 2 marks, so I have 2 points of reference on this. So and that way we can keep it as straight as we possibly can. Now I have these sitting here. These things actually came off of the back of the mirror that I just took this piece of mirror out of. So like I said, you know, you get these things out of the trash and everything like that, out of the dumpster, you know, there's hardware. This is hanging hardware that was attached to it along with this. So, hey, it's free hardware. I don't know if you ever go to the store and try to get things like this, but, you know, over time it can add up. I mean, they're not exactly just a few cents, you know, they're usually a couple dollars just for 2 of them. And I get them free right out of the dumpster off of these broken frames and everything. So that's why I had these sitting up here, because I just wanted to show you. So we'll get them out of the way. And we'll go ahead, get this lined up the way we need to. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and place it like that. Get our cutter here. Get our blade stuck right where it needs to go. Now, if you're unsure, you know, like I make my marks and I usually make them dead on the mark, but if you go just a hair to the right, like that's a Sharpie mark, so it's a little fat, but you know, if I go to the right side of that, then I know for sure that I'm probably not going to be over my mark. You know what I'm saying? I'll be just a hair under. And when you're cutting glass for like frames or for like lanterns that I repair and everything like that, because the glass is broken, you have that whole framed edge there that will cover that up. So now this one's a little more particular because it's got to fit in a very exact space. But even if you still go just a hair under there, it's not going to be noticeable. This is on the side of this table, and it's going to be hidden by the top of the table, so it's not going to be a very big deal. So, but that's how I generally measure it when I go ahead with my blade, is just to the side of it, and that way I'm not over, because it's very, very hard to do a sliver, to try to break a sliver off than you know, actual cutting a bigger piece. And you know, it's almost I mean, you can do like probably a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch off, but anything underneath that, it gets way more difficult to break off. So all right, well, we're going to go ahead and score this. Again, you don't want to press too hard, because I have pressed too hard to get a really good score and the glass breaks. Now on a thicker glass, you don't have as much of a chance, but some of these thinner glasses that you're trying to score, if you press too hard, it just breaks the glass from the pressure. And there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to do the dowel method here. It's not my preferred method, but we're going to go ahead and try it and just see if we can get a pretty good break on this. So we'll go ahead and spin this mirror around, get some of this stuff out of the way. We'll go ahead and place it. Now you want to place it right, the score, you want to place it right in the middle of the dowel rod. And then you want to hold firmly, and then you can just press it just like that, and it broke right off. You see that? That was nice and easy. You got a nice clean break. So we have, and I'm going to go ahead and take some Windex. I'm going to clean that off, and then we're going to go ahead and glue this on the side of the table, and then that part will be done. So I'm going to clean this up so we can get and prep to go ahead and glue that on there. All right, so here we go. We got our table here. We're getting ready to attach the mirror that we just cut. I got some heavy-duty liquid nails, construction adhesive. I usually always use that when I go ahead and glue stuff like this. So we got our mirror here. So I'm not going to apply it on the back of the mirror. I'm actually going to apply it right to the table itself. Now I'm going to put a little more than what they put on there, and I generally go around the edges here. So now you don't want like too much, you know, you don't want it thick. You know, just do like a little frame. And just do a little in the middle here. I mean, when you press that down, a lot of that's going to squish around, so. And you always want to have paper towels around, because this stuff likes to get a little messy sometimes. So now that we got that, we're going to go ahead and take our mirror right here. We're going to line it directly up and just press it on there. Make sure it's definitely in line. Just put some pressure on there so the glue gets on the mirror. And we can just move it just to where it's pretty much down at the bottom there, along the edge here. Not going to really worry about the gap too much up under here, you know, that's going to be below the tabletop, so you're not really going to see it hardly ever. So if you want to just bring it down to the edge here, the bottom edge, then you should be good. So there we go. Now we're going to go ahead and let that dry. and set up. And then that way we can attach the legs to this thing, and we can go ahead. I mean, if you want, you know, we can go ahead and probably paint the underside of this a while the, you know, while the mirror sets. So, like I said, look at that. Brand new. Doesn't even look, you're not even going to notice that that's not even beveled. Once you throw them legs on there and everything, you're not even going to take notice to it. But hey, we put a new piece of mirror on here and it was free. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up. Maybe we can paint the underside of this thing a while. All right, now before I paint this, we got to do a little bit of prep work. So for one, we got to get these stickers off here. And I don't know if you could see that there. But this cost $119.99 at Burlington. And of course, we got it for $0 because they went ahead and threw it away. And I repaired the mirror. Now we're getting ready to paint this, and we're going to make it a little nicer than what it was when they threw it out. So so we're going to go ahead and get these stickers off. So we'll go ahead and take this off because we don't want to paint over these stickers. And of course, stickers aren't the easiest thing to get off sometimes. All right, and there we go. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take some sandpaper. Well, I'll actually take some cleaner and try to get some of that glue off. And then we'll just take a light sandpaper over top of that just to smooth it out a little bit. All right, I got some crud cutter. We're going to see what this does here. Now this tends to remove paint too, but it doesn't matter because we're going to actually be repainting this anyway. But we're going to just try to get some of this glue off here. And you know, you could always just spray it a little bit. And sometimes it's easy to get that glue off just like this when it's wet. All right, now I think that's off there pretty good. It's looking and feeling pretty smooth there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab some Windex here and try to get the residue or whatever from the crud cutter and get that off of there. So it's always good to have cleaning products around well when you're doing this, because you know you want to keep it clean. Now I can tell definitely this is not, it absolutely is not wood. This is that pressed, highly compressed particle board. So it's very easy to damage. And so always be careful. Like I said, you know, they like to find the cheapest material they can find and charge a high, outrageous price. So, but hey, you know, I'm probably going to sell this pretty cheap. So, you know, I mean, it didn't cost me anything. Maybe a little bit, you know, I can make my money back on the paint that I did buy and maybe a few dollars more. But, you know, I certainly am not going to be charging you $119.99 for it, you know. What I tend to do is sell this stuff for half to a quarter of the price, depending upon what it is. This table, I'll probably come down halfway on it, maybe a little lower. It all depends. But it's going to look really nice when I'm done with it. It isn't going to be this cheaply sprayed gold color that they put on here. I don't particularly myself do not like that color. So that color has a place for some things. For a table like this, that is not the place in my opinion. So, but we're going to paint it a nice color, and we're going to try to do some things to it to make it look, you know, a little more of its own. And so we're going to go ahead, get prepped. What I got to do is I'm going to put some of this tape here over the mirror, and so that will protect, so when we're painting we don't get paint on the mirror and have to take more time later to clean that paint off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here with you guys here in a minute as soon as I'm done cleaning this stuff up. All right, now we got the blue painter's tape here, and actually I got this on sale, and I do believe it was at Walmart. They had it on a clearance shelf, or if it wasn't there, it was definitely at a place that sells this stuff, and they had it like dirt cheap. I mean, it was like 75% off, and they have rolls of it, and I snagged every single roll of it because I do use a lot of this. You know, I do a lot of my own home improvements. I do my own painting, I do my own drywall, I do my own electric, I do any kind of building of my house, or even mechanical repairs to my vehicles. I usually generally do it myself. So I have a little bit of everything around this house. So and I have a little bit of tools for everything. So I'm just that type of person. But you know, anytime I see things like this and it's on sale, or you know, they're like, we want to get rid of it and it's like dirt cheap, I go ahead and buy it, even though I don't need it at that time. I know there will be a time that I will need it. So we're going to go ahead and tape this up. All right, we got everything pretty much except for this little trimming right here, which I can do, no problem. Get that out of there. There we go. There we are. Got that little piece. Now, you always want to make sure you have a good, nice, sharp utility knife. As you can see, it came in handy when I was doing this and cutting the edges off of that tape. So we pretty much got everything taped up generally like I want to. I do have this last bit of mirror on the bottom here. All right, well, now I got it all taped off. I took the drawers out because we're going to paint them separately. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to get this paint. We're going to give it a good shake, and we're going to start getting this painted up. All right, well, now that's about it for the the first coat on here. Me personally, I like to put layers of thin coats on. I think it spreads out a lot more evenly. Not only that, a thin layer gives it like kind of like a primer. But this paint right here that they have sprayed on there, it is kind of like it's not rough, but it's not exactly pure smooth either. But it actually gives a good base for this paint to adhere to. So what I'm going to do is we're going to let this dry. I'm going to put a second coat on this. But before I put the second coat on, I'm going to put the drawers on. So, I mean, not the drawers. I'm going to put the legs on and give that a coat as soon as this dries. The legs go in here in the corners, and I just wanted to get like a light coat of paint, of the colored paint in here where the legs attach to, and then I'm just going to attach them. We're going to paint the whole thing, and we're going to get this thing all set and ready to get the stain on it. Meanwhile, while this is drying, I'm actually going to hit these drawers up on the side and stuff like that, and get that going. So and then we're going to come back and we're going to put the second coat on. All right, now I wanted to show you guys here on painting these drawers. Now I already got one painted over here, but I wanted to show you on this one is this has like a black felt material type material inside. So when I paint these edges here, you got to be very, very careful that you don't get paint in here on this material. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this drawer just like I did the other one. I did put tape around the edges of the mirror that's on the front here. The reason I did that is with this type of mirror here, it has a beveled edge, and the very edge right here, it's not really smooth. It's kind of like a rough edge there. So I don't really want to get any paint in there because it may be very difficult to actually get it out. And I don't really want this to be all blotchy and stuff like that. So I went ahead and I did put some blue tape around the edges here so I didn't get any paint. And it makes it a little easier. So you don't have to be so precise. But along this edge here, you got to be very, very careful because you don't want it to go inside on that material in there. So you just got to take your time. Just go along the edge there. Now again, this is on the inside of the drawer, so you know it's probably going to get some wear and stuff in there, but it really shouldn't with this type because it did have rollers on the side here, but and stuff, so I did take them off so I can just give it one big smooth finish there, and I didn't have to worry about trimming out around the hardware. But just take your time, you know, with projects like this, you know, there's no real rush to it. So just take your time, it'll get done, and it'll look nicer in the end, you know, because you did take your time. So some people, you know, they get, and including me, you know, I want to get it done, I want to get it done. But sometimes you just got to take your time. And you will appreciate it even more because you did take your time, and it's just going to turn out and look awesome. Now, you don't want to use a whole bunch of paint because if you do, it'll run right on in there in that material, and you don't want to do that. So then again, you want to watch if you get any kind of paint on your hands and you try to handle anything in there, you got to watch. You might get paint in there too. So I do have some on my gloves, but what I'm going to do is, I mean, it's already pretty dry and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm going to be safe when I handle this. So, again, this is why I put tape on the mirror so I don't have to be so careful, and I can just go ahead and do a quick brush over. So now we're going to take it and flip it. And that way I can do the sides and eventually the back side. Again, I'm just putting a light coat on here. You know, I'm not going to be putting like some heavy coat and then get a bunch of runs and stuff like that. This pretty much just going to be a nice base coat. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but you know, when you start putting more coats on, it's going to fill in those areas, and it's going to turn out pretty decent, you know. So plus I want to get a nice, you know, coat on this, because I am going to put a stain on top, and we're going to see how that is going to turn out, and I'm kind of excited. Hopefully I won't be disappointed. You never know. If it don't turn out, then I will try something new, but I think it'll work out. I'm hopeful on it. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to let this dry, and then it looks like our table over here is pretty much dried up, so we're going to go ahead and put the legs on, and we're going to give it another coat of paint. All right, just to show you guys real quick, what I'm doing is I'm actually taping these mirrors up, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to I'm going to paint these, so it's just a lot easier if we tape it up. So what I'm doing is I got this blue tape, and I am actually just going right here, and I'm going along the edge, right where the mirror is on the one side, and that way I don't have to really worry about cutting on both sides there. So then once I got that, I just trim it off here at the edge, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to start here in the middle, and I'm just going to push outwards. And the reason why I push outwards is, well, the reason I start from the center and push outwards like this is it works the tape out. If you start at one end and you start running your finger across there, it's going to start rearing off a little bit, and then your tape isn't going to be covering what you want. So then we just smooth it out here like so. And then again, I'm going to start right here in the middle, and I'm just going to run my finger right along the edge of the beveled mirror to get it down in that groove. And then we do both sides here. Plus that's going to give us an exact area where we're going to take our utility knife and make sure you have a really sharp blade, because you don't want to have a dull one cutting along here, because you need it really sharp to make a nice good cut. Now see, I don't have to do this top side, I only have to do 3 sides. So you can see where the groove is. So we're just going to pop it in that groove, and I don't have to push real hard. I'm not like gouging the wood. So we're going to do both edges here first, and it just drops right down in that crease, which is pretty awesome. And then we're just going to run it right along that edge. And I am just barely putting any kind of pressure on this. And then we got it. So we're going to pull this side down, and we'll pull this side down, and just pull right along. And now you have a nice covered mirror. Now we can just slap the paint on there, and we won't have to worry about having to clean the mirror up later. So I just wanted to show you that process. I already did one over here. I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2, and then what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to slap some paint right in through here, so we can just get a coat of paint on there. So when I put it here in the corners, you know, you can kind of see inside the creases, and it'd be the color of the table all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and tape the rest of these up, and then we'll start working on putting this thing together and getting a nice coat of paint on it. All right, I got all the table legs all taped up. We're ready to paint these things. Now I'm just going to go ahead and paint from here down, and then once that gets a little dry, I'm going to slap it here on on the old table here, and then we'll just do a whole another coat on the whole thing, and try to get this thing all painted up and get it ready to be stained. So with that being said, let's get the paint on. Okay, so we have the table legs. They're dry, they're ready to be put back together. Now, I don't know, like when I found this in the Burlington dumpster, it may have been in the dumpster, I'm not sure, but I didn't have the hardware, so I actually had to go get it. And I come to find out, like when I did go look for this hardware, it was actually a special nut and stuff like that, and it was actually millimeters. It wasn't like a standard screw. So I actually had to go buy them. It probably cost me, I'd say probably a total about $3 to $4 for all the hardware, but hey, you know, it was free. So we're gonna go ahead and throw these legs on a while. The legs are different. So two of them are different from the other ones. This one here has a section of mirror here and a long section. The other one, they have two long sections of mirrors, and those are actually for the front. These are for the back. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put these on the back. All right, now we got that last one on there, and we'll take our little ratchet here and tighten these down. All right, well, we got the legs on, and of course, hey, you know, Double D gets all excited and gets ahead of himself, and he had these two legs swapped. So I went ahead and fixed that, swapped them. I got everything tightened down, so we are actually ready to start and put a coat and paint these right up here. And while those dry, I'm going to put another coat over here on these drawers. So I'm going to go ahead and get that paint on. All right, well, we got that, we got the table legs, got their first coat on, so we're going to let that dry. And while we let that dry, we are going to go ahead and put our second coat here on our drawers. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that a while, and then we'll start putting the second coat on here. Well, now we're ready to put the second coat here on this dresser here. I put a second coat on these drawers. They look pretty good, but I'm probably going to put a third and final one on them drawers. But we're going to go ahead and put a second coat on this. All right, now we got the second coat. It's all dry. What I noticed is after painting a couple layers on here, I have just like little things sticking up here and there off of this. What I did is I used a rougher paintbrush here, like this one. I actually have a finer one right here. It's a nylon. I am going to go ahead and use this to put my third and final coat on, if that's what it's going to take. So to get this stuff off and kind of smooth it out, I actually am going to go ahead and use a 400 grit sandpaper, and just to smooth it out a little bit so I could put my final coat on there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take this and try to smooth it out a little bit. All right, well, that was just a quick light sanding there, and we got it all ready. So I'm going to go ahead and do the drawers over there, do a light one on them, And then we're going to go ahead and start putting on our final coat. All right, now we have our table all painted. I actually went ahead and put a 4th coat on there just to make sure it was covered nicely and everything. It looked pretty good to me. So the next part is to actually put some stain on here. So this is the interesting part for me. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to try it out anyways. So what I have is I have the black onyx wood stain. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a brush and we're going to apply it with a brush, not a rag on this. I found that actually with the brush it covers a lot easier and a lot more stain actually gets on there than if I just do it with a rag. So I'm going to go ahead and use a brush. I usually use, I have brushes that I use just for stains, and then I have brushes that I use just for paint. So that way we don't get them all mixed up. Now, I don't know how true this is. I was always told not to shake stain, but to stir it due to getting air bubbles in it. I don't know. We'll see, but I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up a while. So I'm kind of excited though to check this out and see how this is going to work on this wood. Again, we're just going to put a layer on there. We're going to let it sit there for about 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to come back and wipe it off. So, and see what kind of result we get. As you can see, that is a nice black, dark, I mean, it is black, that's for sure. And we'll get this off here. There we go. All right. Now what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I am going to do the underside here. The only reason is I'm actually just going to test it out here. If it works out, great. We can go ahead and do the whole thing. And if not, then we'll see what else we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and just do some test areas here. Now, there is another thing that you can use, and it is like a stain wax that you could also use, that you could rub on here and let sit. Kind of does the same thing, but I have never messed with it. Maybe someday I will, just to see what it does. It's pretty much kind of like the same thing as stain, but you know, it's used for different applications. The thing with the wax is you tend, from what I have seen, you use a lot more than you do of stain. It costs about the same price, but it doesn't go as far as regular stain does. Only because it's like a type of wax. So, hey, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes or so. Then I'm going to come back here and we're going to wipe it off and see what it has done to the wood here, and see if that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, so it's been about a little over, it's been about 10-15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to try to wipe this off and see what it does. All right. Now that is basically what I was actually going for. I don't know how well you can see it, but you could see that the stain did stain the paint and everything, and that's kind of what I'm looking for this whole table, is to look like that. So we're going to go ahead and wipe this stuff off. All right, well, hey, we got our tester area done. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and start staining. I'm not going to do it all at once. I'm going to do it in parts because I don't want to I want to have enough time to be able to get the stain off and even. I don't want it to be like when I start getting near the end, it's so dry that I'm having difficulty getting it off. So I'm just going to do parts and parts at a time until we have the whole thing done. So I kind of dig it. You know, some people might not, but this is actually what I was trying to go for. But I actually wanted to go for with the dark maroon, but didn't seem like it was working out that way. I guess I do have to go with a lighter color. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start staining some more of this. All right, so we have successfully stained the table, got it all cleaned up and wiped off. My next step is to, on this, and I got to do the drawers. I got to do them first. But once I get the drawers done, one of the last and final steps that we're going to do is we're going to do a light spraying of a, like a polyurethane type thing. But we got to let the stain that we put on there dry thoroughly before we do anything else. Because if you don't do that and you start touching this stuff, you're going to leave prints and stuff all over this stain. Even though we wiped it off and everything, you're going to want to let it dry completely before you even think about touching this to move it around and do anything else to it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the drawers, get them done, get that all ready, and then we're going to prep to spray it with a urethane. All right, so we went ahead. I got the drawers done. I got the entire table done. So we're going to let this dry again. We're going to make sure it's totally dry, and then we're going to go ahead. I went with the a polyurethane, a water base. I went with a crystal clear satin. I didn't want to go with like a high gloss. I don't want this to be like some super shiny, but I do want a nice coating over it, and it'd be a nice sheen, and I think it's going to look really good. And that way we can protect it and also, you know, cover the stain and make sure it's long lasting. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to let this dry, and I can walk around here. You guys can kind of see what it looks like for right now. I know my lighting back here isn't that great, but you know, you can get the idea of what it actually is going to look like. So I think it turned out very well. So we're going to go ahead and do the final step and put some urethane on it, and then it will be completely done, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, well, hey, we got this all set up. We're ready to spray some urethane on it. I brought it outside. It's a lovely day out. I want to spray this outside anyways. I don't want to spray this inside. So as you can see, I have a little cover here for my table that is actually a shower curtain. I got that out of Bed Bath & Beyond. Like I said, if you find things like that and it has a little bit of spray paint on it, you could use it for other things, which I am going to do. So just got the drawers all set up. Got these cardboard things in here so I don't get the urethane really on the fabric that's on the inside of these drawers. And then you can kind of see exactly how this turned out here in the light instead of inside. I got all the mirrors taped up so I don't get any urethane on the mirrors themselves. So I got this, it's all shook up, so we're getting ready to spray. right, well that's about it. I put a couple coats on there, and we're gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna take all the tape off, and I am going to show you what the final product looks like. Again, this is the first time I ever used the spray polyurethane. I usually just take my brush and put it on, but we're gonna see how this turns out, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys soon. Well, it's all finished. As you can see, you could take a look at it. And see the finish that's on that. Now this side right here, that's the side that I fixed the mirror on there. That's the new piece of mirror that's on there. And you guys can see on the top up here. And here's the back, what it looks like on the back end. And all around the top. I think it turned out pretty good. You know, this is the first time I used that kind of method. And I think it worked out pretty good. So there you guys go. It is all complete. So I will be right back here shortly. I am going to show you my next project, and we will get to that soon. So I'll be right back with you guys very shortly. All right. This here is my next project. It's a little 3-drawer thing that I actually found in Home Goods. It is in one of my episodes. I can't recall the number right now, but let's see. This was actually right there, $129.99 that they went ahead and threw out. What I am going to do with this is, and I'm not 100% sure, and I would like some people to leave down in the comments, should I leave this white or should I paint it a different color? What I do have plans on doing is up here we have this, it's kind of cheap. You could kind of tell it's pretty cheap, but what I am going to do is I am actually going to replace this. We're going to take this off. I actually have a nice 3/4 inch piece of plywood that I have gotten, and I am going to we're going to put that on top of here. I'm not sure. I was thinking about just doing a natural stain, and then I'm going to actually do a polyurethane over top. It's going to be a brush type polyurethane, not a spray. And then I'm going to show you how I take that, I buff it, and make that polyurethane pretty shiny. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to also put like a routered edge around the edge there. I'm not sure what kind of edge I want to put on there yet, but I will decide that when the time comes. But that is my plans, and I'm not sure if I just want to leave it white with a nice natural countertop, but we're going to see. So hey, leave some comments down there. Leave some comments about the project that I just finished, and also leave some comments on maybe some ideas that you would like me to do with this. And I will definitely look out for those comments and see what you guys can come up with. But right now, as far as I know, I'm just going to put a new top on here, and I'll think about painting this. I don't know. So I'll be looking forward to your comments. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to all my subs. Thanks for coming along with me on this project. Like I said, I'm going to work on this, but I have other things that I could definitely do. So this probably is definitely not going to be the last one project that I'm going to have for you guys. But again, I want to thank you guys for you know, subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. I got videos coming. Dumpster diving's a little slow right now, but I'm sure as soon as everything gets opened back up, it's going to pick up again, and I will definitely have some things for you guys. I also have something in the works, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but as I put more and more videos out, I will let you guys know more and more about what Double D has in store for you guys. So as you can see out back here, this is where I live. We have a this is my wood pile over here, but this is a view that I have out back of my house. I have a stream right down there. So, but I just thought I'd show you guys that. But other than that, again, leave some comments on what you think about the project that I just did and the project that I am getting ready to do. So, hey, you guys know who I am. I am Double D, and I am out of here. See you guys soon.